What is going on, everyone? My name is Andy. Welcome back to another FPL video. In this one, we're going to discuss who might be the best captain for Game Week 3. I'm not necessarily going to do one of these videos every single week, but there's quite a few options to talk through today, so I thought I'd make a video about it. Give it a like if you enjoy it. Hit that subscribe button if you're new around here. Let's talk about them, right? There's going to be other players to come as well. Don't worry, I've not forgotten about the fact that Spurs play Wolves. But we're going to start off with Salah, Jesus and Haaland. Now, right now, my captaincy is on Salah. And I don't think it's going to change. I think even though Jesus did so well last week and he's got a really good fixture this week, I think the way Man United are playing at the moment just makes me favour Salah. And of course, and this gets discussed a lot when we talk about bringing players in and captaining them, Salah is a midfielder. So we always have to take into account that extra point for a goal, extra point for a clean sheet. And obviously that Liverpool defence, although some people think they're playing really badly at the moment, they could easily shut Man United out. It is an away game. I do think Man United can score in that game, but overall there's quite a few advantages for going for a midfielder over a forward. So that's already one thing, one reason to maybe go for Salah. If we think about the fixture as well, the first two games have not been good for Man United. And I think at this point, most people realise this is not the same Man United team as it was years ago. They are poor. Liverpool smashed them twice last season. And right now, I'm a little bit afraid it's going to be exactly the same again, because Ten Hag's come in. He's obviously got a way that he wants to play, a style that he's trying to fit into that Man United team, but he just doesn't have the players for it. And yes, they're probably going to panic by a bunch of players before the deadline. That's not going to be before the Liverpool game. So if he comes out, I don't think we're going to see Eriksen playing as a number 6, for example. I'm pretty sure we're going to go back to Fred and McTominay, and maybe he'll try and be a little bit more pragmatic in that, yes, I've got a style that I want to play, but this is Liverpool. If we try that, if we try and press them, if we try and play up the pitch, they will rip through us. The problem I have is if Man United do play a little bit more, in a pragmatic way, and they do sit a bit deeper and try and defend, I think Liverpool will still get through them. I just think there's so many problems in that team. And if he continues to try and force David De Gea to play around at the back, that ain't going to be good, especially when Nunez isn't going to be able to play because he's suspended. Now, he probably would have caused, like Maguire and Martinez, some problems, but I don't think that's the only thing. Now, Firmino's going to come in. He's a great presser. He's going to press from the front. If David De Gea is trying to play the ball out of his feet, Firmino will get him, and that spells points for the players around him, like Diaz and like Salah in particular. Obviously, he's on penalties as well. So I just don't see good things in that fixture. I know some people are talking about, Liverpool's midfield, and they haven't looked great in the first two games. I think they've been fine. I think they could have scored more goals against Crystal Palace on another day, and I'm not convinced that Man United is a harder team to play against than Crystal Palace. So I really like Salah. He is my captain. I don't think that's going to change. I do like Jesus. I think, during pre-season and maybe in the first couple of game weeks, we were looking at captains, and I remember looking at Game Week 3 in particular and thinking, okay, Salah's got Man United, that's pretty good. Kane's got Wolves, that's pretty good, and obviously Son as well. But the outside picks by the time we get to Game Week 3 might be Arsenal, and the fact that Jesus has just got 19 points against Leicester, a lot of people are going to captain him. I actually think that he and Salah might be the two most captain players, just because of how high Jesus' ownership is. The thing I would ask myself, if he hadn't scored 19 points last week and he'd blanked, and I know a lot of people put, stuff into form and things like that, but let's say he'd blanked again like he did in Game Week 1, would you still be looking at him for captaincy? I'm not so sure we would be. It is a good fixture. I really like him. I think his underlying numbers, expected goals, expected assists are always good. Some people don't rate him as a great finisher, and while that might be true, he always gets into great positions, so he's always going to get plenty of chances. But he is a forward, so it's a little bit harder to make up the points. He's not on penalties either, and I just keep coming back to that. I wouldn't even be thinking about him as a captain if he hadn't got 19 points. I think he's brilliant. He should definitely be in everyone's team. Bournemouth, Fulham, Aston Villa, next 3 fixtures. No reason to get rid of him, but I just don't think I can get behind him for captaincy. I think he is a good captain, but when you got the likes of Salah against Man United, Kane and Son against Wolves, I think they probably are slightly better. So if you're thinking about captaining Jesus, I would not sit here and try and talk you out of it, because I think him, Martinelli or Saka could all do really well. Just think about how much that 19 points has changed your opinion. And bearing in mind, after Game Week 1, people were selling him. Now he's being mass brought, and now he's being captained as well. And it's all changed just because of that one game against Leicester. And I'm not saying Bournemouth are a better defence and this is going to be a harder game, but it is an away game, and I just don't know if Jesus can match what Salah can do against Man United. So he's good, and no problems if you want to go for him. Probably not where I'm going to go. Then Haaland, you probably could argue on paper, Haaland's got the hardest fixture against Newcastle away, and there's been lots of discussion around, Man City playing against a low block, how many touches Haaland got in the last game. I know it's been mentioned a million times, but obviously if Foden passes that ball to Haaland, he has a 12-pointer, he outscores Salah by 10 points, and suddenly the narrative would probably be, well, why are we not considering captaining Haaland every single week? He has outscored Salah in both Game Week 1 and Game Week 2 so far, only by 1 point in Game Week 1 and 3 points in Game Week 2, but he is beating him so far. I think Man City will get plenty of chances against Newcastle, no matter how Newcastle decide to play. If they come out and play, that would be good for Man City. If they sit back, City have ways to get through low blocks. So I think he is a good option this week. He's currently, I think, my vice captain. I might have put it on Jesus. I can't quite remember. But I think he's a solid option. But again, most people's teams don't just have Haaland. They have Haaland and Kane, or Haaland and Son, or Haaland and Salah. And I think in every situation, Salah's probably better than Haaland, and Kane and Son might be as well. So I think that he could be a captain option in the next few weeks. Game Week 5, he's got Nottingham Forest at home. Obviously, a lot of us captained him against Bournemouth too. So there's going to be opportunities to do it. I'm just not sure this is the best week. I actually find it fairly close between Jesus and Haaland. I think when it comes to the Saturday deadline, my captain will be on Salah, but I'll probably vice-captain Jesus. And again, it's just a fixture thing. Just like in Game Week 2, I went for Haaland because of Bournemouth. That's probably why I'll go for Jesus. So, yeah, I think Newcastle could cause them a few problems. Man City will definitely score goals, though. So, again, nothing wrong with Haaland, but I think if you're someone that's got two premium attackers, so you've got Haaland +1 Liverpool player or +1 Spurs, the other player is probably slightly better. So I think aside from Jesus, Salah and Haaland, the next two captains that a lot of people will be looking at is Kane or Son. So anyone on Spurs players must be strongly considering them this week. I've put Sterling in as a bit of a Mavericks pick. I know not everybody likes going for the obvious captain that everyone else is going to go for. They find it fun to go a bit different. So a player like Sterling against a team like Leeds could be decent. I know some people are down on Chelsea at the moment, don't think they're doing that well, especially from an attacking sense. But Leeds away is the kind of fixture where it could just click between, Mount, Havertz and Sterling. And I'd back Sterling to get decent points. If I had Mount, the price drop could be annoying if that happens. But it is a good fixture to hold on to. And they do have good fixtures going forward. But this is a captaincy video, so we won't get into that right now. Again, another Mavericks pick could be like Vardy against Southampton at home, for example. But we'll talk about the fixtures in a minute. So just on Kane and Son, I do think they're good captains this week. And if I had them, I would strongly consider them. Whether or not they're better than Salah, that's always difficult, because I think right now, Salah's minutes are really high. I'd be expecting him to play 85 to 90 minutes and all that other good stuff, penalties, midfielder, etc. Now, obviously, Son's a midfielder as well, but he doesn't have penalties. And I think worry is the wrong word, but we might see over the next few weeks just how much Richarlison is going to impact minutes. We saw in that game against Chelsea, Conte made a lot of changes. Now, he had to do that because the game wasn't going great. They were trying to get back into it. Maybe they needed fresh legs and stuff like that. Against Wolves at home, you would hope if Son gets brought off a little bit earlier, and I'm not saying like 60 minutes, but like 70, 75, it'll be because they're ahead, and if they're ahead, you'd hope he'd have some returns. But Richarlison is going to impact players like Son, right? He is going to get minutes. They've got 5 subs. Conte's going to make changes. We need to keep an eye on that over the next few weeks. If I had Son, I don't think it would put me off captaining him, but it is just another kind of thing to consider when you're, weighing up Son versus Salah, Kane versus Salah and stuff like that, because minutes are important, right? You want your players on the pitch to be getting them goals. So Son's a decent captain. I think the dynamic between Kane and Son is interesting, because I think in the first couple of weeks, it does feel like Son's almost the main striker now. I know they line up with a 3 across the front, and obviously Son on paper is on the left, but he's often central. He's often the one furthest forward making those runs in behind. We know Kane drops deep. Now, I think some people overplay just how deep Kane is, as if he's playing as a number 6 and he never gets in the box. That is just not true. You look at their expected goals, expected assists, they're very similar, but a lot of the time it is Son kind of last man, and they're looking to play him in. And we did see that at the end of last season. I do wonder if that will continue to the point where Son is just the better option. But again, Kane's the one that's got the penalties. All it takes is, a couple of them to happen over the next few weeks, and suddenly Kane looks like a great captain. So just to come back to whether they are better than the other players we talked about, I think because they're at home, and bearing in mind, yes, they might have not done that well against Chelsea, they still got 2 goals. They smashed Southampton as well, scored 4 past them. I don't think Wolves is quite as good a fixture as Southampton, but it's still decent. Wolves are not the same defence they were years ago either. So I think there's goals in this one. I think if you've got Kane or Son, you could strongly consider them. I think because they're at home, you could probably have them just ahead of Haaland and Jesus. I think it's all pretty close between them for what it's worth. So if you wanted to go against Salah, these are possibly the two where I would do it. I don't think many people have got Kane and Son, so there's not really much to choose from. I'll be honest, I don't know who I would back if I had both, because I do think we're starting to see maybe Son getting into slightly better positions on the eye. The stats aren't necessarily telling us the same thing, and Kane is still on penalties. And I think Wolves at home is a game where Kane probably isn't going to have to drop in as much. So I do like Kane this week. He'd probably be my preferred captain out of him and Son, because I think he'll be on the pitch for longer, and I think Richarlison might impact Son. So they're all just things to consider. If you've got those two, they're really good options. Whether they're better than Salah, I'm not sure I would agree with that. But again, if you want to go against him, if you think Man United can do anything against Liverpool, then maybe back the Spurs boys instead. So I do think with captaincy, I would usually just go for those obvious players. So the first three we've spoken about, Kane and Son as well. I don't think I'd put Sterling as an obvious player, but he is a player in the past that has done well. So those tried and tested, consistent point scorers, that's what you want for captaincy, because if you're having a bad week and your captain suddenly gets 10 or 15 points, you go from bad to good. If you're having a good week and they get 10 to 15 points, suddenly you're having a great week. And I just think it's a bit of a myth that you've got to go different to climb up the ranks. Like if you look at my team, what have I done for the first 2 weeks? Anyone would tell you my team is template as anything. I've gone for the obvious captains. In game week 1 it was Salah, game week 2 it was Haaland. This week it'll probably be Salah again. My overall rank is already okay. I think the idea that you've got to go massively different to beat everyone else is just not true. So the obvious captains are obvious for a reason, but if you want to talk through some of the other options, I think for the most part, any of the players we talked about, they've got other players in their team that could do well. So for example, in Liverpool, it could be Trent Alexander-Arnold or Luis Diaz. For Spurs, you could look at Kulusevski. I think again, Kane, Son, Salah are clearly better than those picks, but they are ones you could look at as well. I talked about Chelsea versus Leeds, Sterling. You could look at Mason Mount as well. I think he did pretty decently against Leeds last year. Again, some people said at the start of the season Leeds will be a better defence this year. I think we're still yet to see that. They might be slightly better than under Bielsa, but I'm not expecting them to keep a lot of clean sheets. And I think it is the kind of fixture where Chelsea could just click in. So if you want to go a bit different, someone like Mount or Sterling could be nice. Even maybe Havertz. If you've got, if you're on Nunez up front, suspended, and you've already got Jesus, you've already got one of Haaland and Kane, and you can't afford to get the other one, maybe Nunez to Havertz, possibly against Leeds and then Leicester. If not, Jamie Vardy could be another option against Southampton at home. He's on penalty. Southampton is a defence that I would look to target as well. We saw what Spurs did in the first game, and obviously Leicester is not as good a team as Spurs, but they always score. I always worry about when Leicester are playing against one of my defenders. Like last week against Arsenal, they lost the game, but they still managed to score 2 goals. So that could be decent against Southampton. Maybe Maddison as well. Again, I'd always pick someone like Vardy. He's more likely to get you a goal. He's on penalties as well, but Maddison is an outside shot. I don't know if there's a huge amount of other places I would be looking at. Man United players against Liverpool, definitely not. I mean, I'm hoping they get something against Liverpool, but I just can't see it happening. I think if Everton had Calvert-Lewin fit and ready to play, which he is not, then him against Nottingham Forest at home with penalties could have been nice. But I just wouldn't trust the likes of Gray or Gordon there. Mitrovic against Brentford, Tony against Fulham could be okay. I just don't think their chances of getting huge scores in a game like that is just that big. So that's why I'd be looking at the more obvious players. I think that's about it. I don't think there's a huge amount of other players there that I'd be looking at. Obviously, Martinelli and Saka instead of Jesus against Bournemouth could be good. But let me know. Are you going obvious? Are you going different? In the comments below, let me know who your captain is. If you've enjoyed that video and you want to see more, make sure you give it a like, hit that subscribe button, and I'll catch you again soon.